I found strange is I came across this looking for Iowa football news, and then I saw it on your Twitter feed that you posted his final five, and it was a pretty impressive list of a final five schools for this cornerback out of Illinois. He is number 27 at cornerback in the composite, and he is number 61 according to 247 Sports. That is quite the discrepancy in ranking him as a cornerback. And if he goes from 61, according to 247 Sports, all the way up to number 27 in the composite, that means that some other services really like him.
Yeah, I've noticed that with some of these. You compare this. Now I know I don't know if we've ever talked about it formally on this show, but you got the Rivals on 3 merger, and that's going to change kind of how some of these. I don't think you're going to have separate services between Rivals and on 3, but you still have ESPN and those 247 Sports. But yeah, I've noticed a discrepancy. It seems like more often than not here recently with some of these recruits that are mid-high major recruits, I should say, like guys that aren't 5 stars or high 4s. It seems like there is more and more of a discrepancy the lower you go. But yeah, I mean, this kid, again, we never ever doubt Phil Parker's ability to evaluate corners. He's offered guys that have had next to no other offers or no other Power 5 offers, no other Division I offers in some cases. But he's got a final 5 of Illinois, Wisconsin, Mississippi, or excuse me, Michigan State, Boston. Or are we talking Guild? Or we're talking about Hankins? We're talking about Hankins. Excuse me. He's got a top 5 of Ole Miss, Mizzou, Illinois, Tennessee, and Iowa. So, and then the other guy is Jermaine Polk, who's also a 3-star recruit. He's a defensive tackle, and he's got several other Big Ten offers, plus Iowa State and BC.
Have you had enough time or resources to get out to anyone that you trust to get a real feel for whether, we're not talking about Iowa kids here. We're talking about the cornerback coming out of Illinois. We're talking about Polk, the defensive lineman out of Toledo, Ohio. So there's not that natural connection, obviously, to where you have a feel for whether these are heavy leans that Iowa has a really good shot.
I did have a conversation with our guy Elliot Clough last night. We didn't talk specifics about predictions on these two guys. I would be surprised if Iowa gets either one of them, frankly, just with the schools they're competing with. But as I said, I think, your best shot is probably at corner, touting the Phil Parker secondary and the guys he's put into the league most recently, Cooper DeJean, who was a Super Bowl standout in his rookie year with the Eagles. So I would be surprised if Iowa lands either one of those. I will say Iowa's done pretty well in that area, right? So, I mean, whether we're talking Chicago, Toledo, get up into, I know that was this kid's, I think, Belleville. Are we talking Hankins is Belleville, Illinois? I didn't even know there was a Belleville, Illinois. I'm assuming that I haven't looked where that's at on the map, but Iowa's done good in is it Bellevue, Michigan, or Belleville? There's a Bellevue, Nebraska. There's a Belleville, Michigan. Iowa.
There's Bellevue, Ohio.
That's great. But no, I mean, I'd be surprised with either one of them just with the list. But hey, never doubt Phil and his ability to sell. But I will say this, it's like at the positions that Iowa's done phenomenally well at as far as development and eventually NFL potential. I mean, I think tight end, I think corner, they don't recruit particularly well at any of those positions. I mean, we've talked about that. Like they don't, based on the numbers, the rankings, the ratings, they don't necessarily grab highly touted kids. I'm trying to think of the last high 4-star, like when's the last time Iowa did anything with a 4-star corner? They haven't had 5-star corners. I'm trying to think, like Jordan Bernstein would be like the last. I think he was a borderline 5-star defensive back who was more of a natural, and he kind of ended up being a disappointment at Iowa. I don't think he really did much of anything in the league. So I don't know. I mean, the ratings aside, I just trust Phil with whoever evaluates. And now he does have work to do this year. I mean, these guys aren't 25 kids. He's got work to do this year because that group, losing DeJean last year, they struggled at the spot opposite Jamari, and now they don't have him anymore.
What would be fascinating, because we know who recruits the best. All you have to do is look at the rankings. And for as many people as come on here all the time or on the other show and argue with me about rankings and that they're not valid, they are valid. So anyway, that doesn't mean they're perfect, but they're valid. But so we know who recruits at the elite level. But taking it down it would be interesting, and this would take some research and some time. I've got another good project for you. Is you would take Iowa's starting lineup and you would take where they were recruited, where they were ranked. Like if they're the 25th cornerback in their class, who was just above and below them? Who was in that same range in terms of the rankings? And did Iowa consistently, were they able to find, it's a two-part process, folks, able to find better players than what their rankings would indicate, and then also develop them into being better players than their ranking would indicate, better than the schools that are taking similar players? That would be fascinating to see.
It would be. I think it's probably fair to say, I mean, given the NFL, I mean, I don't think we'd have to make it too much of a science project to surmise
Oh,
based
let's make
on,
it a science project. I want to
well,
see you tear this apart.
yeah, yeah, I have time for science projects, but if you compare just where they are, you talk about recruiting rankings nationally, where they are in the recruiting rankings versus where they are in almost all of these, like whether you want to look at number of all pro guys in the last 20 years or number of draftees in the last 20 years, like it's obvious Iowa's well outperforming everybody else in development, or most, I shouldn't say everybody else, that's probably unfair to say, but almost everybody else as it relates to total development. Like there's some schools, I'm not doubting Clemson or Ohio State, their ability to develop players, but there's only so much you can, once you get to this point where you're recruiting a 4 or 5 star kid, if they perform as expected, then we're not perceiving that to be great development. But if Iowa gets a 3 star or 2 star kid and they perform like a Jack Campbell, wow, Iowa really developed him. So if you want to look at development that way, or you can just look at it, hey, maybe Iowa's got a bit of a better knack at identifying talent out of high school,
Yeah.
and everybody else is missing. Regardless, it's impressive, whether it's development or finding the diamonds in the rough.
I'm sure it's a combination.
Yeah.
And the first part of the project, of the science project, would not be difficult for you to do. You pick a position and you say cornerback. I am going to look at the starting cornerbacks for Iowa for the last 10 years. You would be able to do that like that, run through them and how good were they versus their recruiting ranking. The difficult part would be then you would have to compare them against guys that went to Illinois, Kansas State, UCLA, TCU, that you would somewhat be familiar with a few, but have no idea on others. And you'd be calling me. And yeah.
I tried to ask you a simple question yesterday about which of I mean, but several of them were Ohio State guys I'm drafting for my dynasty fantasy football league, and I'm asking you which one of these guys has the best shot of, potential in the league year one, and you had nothing to offer me.
Nothing.
So you know what I did? First of all, I put both of my picks in the trading block. Ended up trading one of them. I ended up drafting Travis Hunter just because I thought, hey, Travis Hunter, when's the last time? This is how I looked at this. I'm not a Travis Hunter expert, but when's the last time an athletic Heisman finalist failed in the NFL? Like an athletic Heisman finalist. So when I say athletic, I'm not talking about Colt McCoy, or let's just go non-quarterback. We could just trim it down to non-quarterback, all right? Because some people say Robert Griffin III was a no. I'm talking non-quarterback Heisman finalist. When's the last time there's been a finalist
You're talking about
non-quarterback?
finalists or the guy that actually won the award?
No, I'm talking about finalists. But
Yeah.
we could also go who won the award.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think of guys who have flopped that have been in the Heisman conversation. Tim Tebow flopped in the league. Colt McCoy largely flopped in the league. Sam Bradford flopped in the league. Baker Mayfield has been better than I expected.
He's not flopped. He's a good quarterback.
He was crap in Cleveland. Let's see. RG3 flopped in the league. Jameis Winston flopped Jameis Winston's carved out a nice career too, but his first how many years
around forever?
Was a struggle. I'm just saying non-core. So I think of guys like Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, well, Devontae Smith, was he a finalist?
He won the award.
He won the award, yeah.
Yeah.
He hasn't been great. I actually have him on my dynasty league. He's been first he's got to share touches with AJ Brown, But I have a hard time seeing, unless they just move him to defense, then it's a total miss on the part of anybody that drafts him for fantasy football. But he sounds like he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be playing both ways long term. I don't think it's sustainable.
And your fantasy team just has a defense, right?
Correct.
You
Yeah,
just
we
have
don't
a
have defensive players. Correct.
Yeah. So I don't know that I would go that route under those circumstances.
Go what route?
Travis Hunter
Well,
as a receiver, period.
well, it sounds like that's what they're primarily going to be using him as right now.
Yeah. I think it was a great pick myself. I think he's exceptional, but I would just wear him out for like 6 years, play him on both sides of the ball.
Just wear him out.
He's phenomenal at
Yeah.
both positions, but he stands out even more as a corner because there's only so many guys at cornerback that can play at that level. Where wide receivers, there's a lot more guys that bring the same skill set to the table.